Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be talking about China's kind of bold move in the satellite internet race.
Yeah.
We're focusing on the recent launch of their Long March 8A rocket,
Right.
and we're going to try to figure out if this thing can actually challenge U.S. dominance in this whole arena.
That's a good question.
We've got some great material to work with today,
Yeah.
including this really insightful article that details the launch and kind of its implications.
I'm excited.
So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, this is definitely a development worth watching.
Yeah.
It's not just about internet speeds, it's about, who controls the future of global connectivity,
Right.
which has huge implications for, economic and strategic power.
Yeah, the stakes are high for sure.
Sure.
So let's start with the star of the show.
Okay.
The Long March 8A.
Okay.
This isn't just another rocket.
Right.
It's specifically designed as a carrier rocket to place tons of satellites into low Earth orbit, or LEO.
Bingo.
LEO as it's known.
And that's key here. LEO is crucial for satellite internet networks because being closer to Earth means faster data transmission.
Oh, okay, so closer equals speed.
Yeah, it's like the difference between sending a letter by snail mail and sending an instant message. You want that information to travel quickly.
Gotcha. So this Long March 8A
Yeah.
is no slouch when it comes to carrying capacity.
No, it's not.
It's a giant 50 meters tall, weighing a massive 371 metric tons, and capable of carrying 7 tons of payload into orbit.
Wow.
That's a lot of satellites
That's a lot.
in one go.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that this approach mirrors what SpaceX is doing with their Starlink project.
Absolutely. Both China and the U.S., through SpaceX and other companies, are aiming to build these massive constellations of satellites in LEO.
Right.
Yeah, it's a race to see who can establish the most robust and extensive network.
So essentially, they're trying to blanket the Earth with their own satellite networks.
Pretty much.
It's fascinating and a little bit unsettling
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah.
Why is China so determined to compete in this space?
Well, it aligns with their broader ambitions to become a technological superpower, They want to reduce their reliance on Western technology and potentially control a significant chunk of global internet infrastructure.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like building a digital highway in space.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
want to be in the driver's seat.
In the driver's seat.
Controlling the flow of information
Yeah.
would give them a huge advantage, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it this way. If a significant portion of the world relies on China's satellite network for internet access, it gives them leverage in trade negotiations, international relations, even military strategy.
Wow.
It's about projecting power and influence on a global scale.
It's at a whole new level of geopolitical chess.
Exactly.
But facing off against SpaceX
Yeah.
is a daunting task.
Yeah.
They've already launched over 7,000 Starlink satellites into LEO.
That's a lot.
Can China realistically catch up?
That's the big question.
Yes.
China is investing heavily in its space program, but there's a difference between launching satellites and creating a reliable, functional network that can compete globally.
So it's not just about quantity, it's about quality and functionality too.
Exactly.
It's like building a skyscraper.
Yes.
You need more than just bricks and mortar. You need skilled engineers, a solid foundation, and a well-thought-out design.
Precisely, it's about the whole ecosystem. Launching satellites is just the first step.
Right.
They need to ensure those satellites work effectively, that they can handle vast amounts of data, that they're resilient to attacks or malfunctions, and that they can connect seamlessly with ground stations and user devices.
Now, it sounds incredibly complex.
It is.
And to make things even more challenging for China,
Yeah,
SpaceX isn't the only player in the game.
you're right. Other U.S. companies like Amazon are also entering the satellite internet race with projects like Project Kuiper.
Right.
They're planning to launch thousands of their own satellites, further crowding the field and intensifying the competition.
So China is facing a multi-pronged challenge. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond.
It certainly will. This is a dynamic and rapidly evolving landscape, and the next few years will be critical in determining who emerges as the dominant force in the satellite internet race.
Yeah.
The implications for all of us are significant.
For sure.
So stay tuned as we delve deeper into this fascinating topic.
All right, let's do it. We've talked about the scale and complexity of launching these mega constellations,
Right.
but let's kind of shift gears and talk about what China is bringing to the table.
Okay.
Are they just trying to replicate
Yeah.
what SpaceX is doing, or are they innovating
Yeah.
in their own way?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of China's ambitions.
Okay.
They're not just playing catch-up. They're actively developing their own technologies and approaches to satellite internet.
Right.
For example, they're investing heavily in laser communication technology for their satellites.
Laser communication.
Yeah,
That sounds futuristic.
it is pretty cool.
What's the advantage of that compared to traditional radio frequency communication?
Well, lasers offer significantly faster data transmission speeds
Okay.
and are less susceptible to interference. Imagine beaming massive amounts of data between satellites at lightning speed. That's the potential of laser communication.
Wow.
They're also exploring new satellite designs and network architectures that could potentially give them an edge in terms of coverage and efficiency.
So they're not just copying, they're trying to leapfrog the competition with cutting-edge technology.
Yeah, they're trying to get ahead.
It makes this competition even more interesting.
Yeah, it does.
But it's not just about the technology itself, is it?
No, it's not.
It's about what you can do with it.
Precisely. And this is where the conversation gets really interesting. Imagine a world where remote areas in developing countries, places that have traditionally been excluded from the digital economy, suddenly have access to high-speed internet. Think of the possibilities for education, telemedicine, economic development.
It's almost like a technological equalizer, breaking down barriers and creating opportunities where none existed before.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a powerful vision, and one that China is actively promoting as part of its Belt and Road Initiative.
Exactly. They're positioning themselves as the provider of digital infrastructure for the developing world, a role that could have significant geopolitical implications.
It's a smart strategy. By aligning their satellite internet ambitions with their broader economic and political goals,
Yeah,
they're creating a compelling narrative that resonates with many countries.
absolutely.
But of course, there's another side to this story,
Yeah.
a darker side that we need to address.
Oh, what's that? You're referring to the potential for misuse of this technology, particularly when it comes to surveillance and control.
That's right. China's government already exerts tight control over the internet within its borders.
Right.
If they gain significant control over global internet infrastructure, what's to stop them from extending that control beyond their borders? What does that mean for freedom of information and online privacy?
Those are valid concerns, and they're not just theoretical. We've already seen reports of China using its existing satellite technology for surveillance purposes, both domestically and internationally.
So the potential benefits of this technology come with potential risks as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a double-edged sword, and it raises some serious ethical questions. This isn't just an abstract technological competition. It has real-world consequences for individuals and for global society as a whole.
Absolutely, and it underscores the need for international dialogue and cooperation.
Right.
This isn't just a bilateral race between the U.S. and China.
Right.
It's a global issue that requires a global response.
Agreed. We need to think about how to harness the power of satellite internet for good, while also establishing safeguards to prevent its misuse.
Yeah.
This brings us to another player in the game, Amazon.
Oh, yeah, Amazon.
As you mentioned earlier, they're not sitting on the sidelines.
Nope.
Their project Kuiper is set to be a major contender, adding another layer of complexity to this already crowded field.
Right.
What can you tell us about Amazon's approach, and how does it compare to SpaceX and China's efforts?
Well, Amazon is coming into this with its vast resources and its expertise in cloud computing and data management.
Okay.
They're not just launching satellites, they're building an entire ecosystem to support their network.
So it's about more than just the hardware. It's about the software, the data centers, the ground stations, all working together seamlessly.
All of it, yeah.
That sounds very much in line with Amazon's overall business model.
Exactly. They're leveraging their existing strengths to gain a foothold in the satellite internet market.
Okay.
And they're not shying away from ambition. Their goal is to provide low-latency, high-speed broadband internet to millions of customers around the world, including underserved communities and remote areas.
So in a way, they're echoing some of the same aspirations as China,
Yeah.
but coming at it from a different angle.
Yes, but their approach is more commercially driven. They see this as a major business opportunity, a way to expand their global reach and tap into a new market.
Right.
It's less about geopolitical ambitions and more about capturing market share and generating profits.
So we have three major players in this race, SpaceX, China, and Amazon, each with their own motivations and approaches. It's starting to feel like a real-life space opera with these titans of industry battling for supremacy in the celestial realm.
The competition is intense and the stakes are high, but ultimately it's the consumers who stand to benefit the most from this race to connect the world.
I think that's an important point to remember. Amidst all the talk of geopolitics and technology, we shouldn't lose sight of the potential positive impact on people's lives.
Agreed. Faster internet speeds, wider access, lower costs. These are all tangible benefits that could have a transformative effect on communities around the world.
But of course, with every technological advancement, there are potential downsides.
Yeah, that's true.
And in the case of satellite internet, one of the biggest concerns is the growing problem of space debris.
Yeah.
It's kind of ironic, that in our quest to connect the world through satellite internet,
Yeah.
we might be creating a problem that could disconnect us from space itself.
Yeah.
We're talking about space debris.
Right.
And it's a growing concern as these mega constellations expand.
It's a classic example of unintended consequences.
Yeah.
As we launch thousands of satellites into orbit,
Right.
we're increasing the risk of collisions, creating a cascade of debris that could pose a serious threat to space infrastructure.
It's like a cosmic traffic jam out there,
Yeah.
with everyone vying for space and the potential for fender benders increasing exponentially. But these aren't just minor scrapes. We're talking about high-velocity impacts that could create a chain reaction leading to what's known as the Kessler syndrome.
Exactly. The Kessler syndrome is a scenario where the density of debris in orbit becomes so high that it triggers a chain reaction of collisions, making space travel and satellite operations incredibly dangerous or even impossible. Imagine a scenario where crucial satellites providing GPS navigation, weather forecasting, or even internet connectivity are taken out by a cloud of debris. That's the potential consequence we're facing if we don't address this issue seriously.
It's a sobering thought, and it makes you realize that this space race isn't just about technological prowess. It's about responsible stewardship of our space environment.
For sure.
What steps are being taken to mitigate this risk? Is there a way to clean up the debris that's already up there?
Well, there's growing awareness of the problem, and various agencies and organizations are exploring solutions.
Okay.
There are ideas for space cleanup missions that would involve capturing and deorbiting large pieces of debris, and also for developing technologies that would make future satellites less prone to creating debris in the first place.
So it's a combination of cleaning up the mess we've already made and designing better systems for the future. It seems like a daunting task, though.
It is, but it's essential. Think about it. Space is a shared resource for all humankind. It's in everyone's best interest to ensure its long-term sustainability. We can't afford to let it become a no-go zone because of our own negligence.
I completely agree. And speaking of responsible stewardship, another concern that's been raised is the impact of these mega constellations on astronomy. I've heard that the streaks of reflected sunlight from these satellites are interfering with ground-based observations.
Yes, that's a valid concern raised by astronomers. The increasing number of satellites is creating light pollution that can interfere with their ability to observe distant stars and galaxies.
Right.
It's like trying to stargaze in a city with bright streetlights everywhere. It makes it much harder to see the faint light from celestial objects.
So we're not just cluttering up space, we're also dimming our view of the universe. It seems like every solution creates a new set of challenges. How are astronomers and satellite operators trying to address this issue?
Well, there's ongoing dialogue between the two communities to find ways to minimize the impact. Some satellite operators are experimenting with darker coatings for their satellites to reduce reflectivity, and others are adjusting their orbits to avoid interfering with key astronomical observations. But it's a delicate balancing act, and it requires a collaborative approach to find solutions that work for everyone.
It sounds like we need some ground rules, some sort of international framework to manage this increasingly complex space environment.
You're absolutely right. As space becomes more crowded and contested, the need for clear rules and regulations becomes paramount. We need to address issues like traffic management, debris mitigation, radio frequency interference, and a responsible use of space resources.
It seems like we're at a pivotal moment. We're on the verge of a new era of space exploration and exploitation. But we need to proceed with caution and foresight. This isn't just about national pride or corporate profits. It's about the future of humanity's relationship with space.
Well said. We need to remember that space is a shared heritage for all of us, and we have a responsibility to ensure its peaceful and sustainable use for generations to come. This requires international cooperation, a willingness to compromise, and a shared commitment to responsible stewardship.
It's a challenge for sure, but one that we can't afford to ignore. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the satellite internet race, we leave you with a question to ponder. What role do you think individuals can play in shaping the future of space exploration? Is it purely a domain for governments and corporations, or do citizens have a voice in determining how we use this shared resource? It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but one that deserves our attention and careful consideration. Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.